All right, let's talk about it. Robotic affirming and why I believe it's one of the most powerful forms of manifesting out there. For me personally, everybody has their own methods, and maybe visualizing works better for you, maybe scripting works better for you, but in my experience, I've really experienced some pretty big fucking results with robotic affirming, and I'm going to share my story, why I believe it's so powerful and how you can implement it in your everyday life and experience some miracles too. So, robotic affirming, if you haven't heard of it, robotic affirming essentially is just you repeating a series of affirmations over and over robotically. I know that a lot of people have heard of you need to feel it real, you need to put yourself in the state of the wish fulfilled, so on and so forth. And I mean, like, you can do that. But with robotic affirming, you're basically just repeating affirmations. Like, let's say, for example, you want to work on your self confidence. So you would just repeat the affirmation, I am confident, I am confident, I am confident. And you just continually repeat the affirmation in your mind while you're doing everyday tasks like doing the dishes or brushing your teeth in the shower. At any point in time, you're just repeating these affirmations over and over and over again. And I know you've heard people say this before, like when you tell yourself something, even if you don't believe it to be true initially, the more you tell yourself something, the more you're just naturally going to accept that. Your subconscious mind is just going to accept that as reality because you keep repeating the same thing over and over again. And I'm going to speak in this video as if you have at least a general understanding of what the subconscious mind is and how it operates in our lives. But the subconscious mind accepts whatever it is that you feed it. The subconscious mind does not know the difference between good or bad, real versus fake. It just knows what you feed it and what you're programming it with. So when you're telling yourself something over and over again, even if you don't believe it at first, because if something seems far out from where you're at right now in your current reality, initially it's not going to feel like you're telling yourself the truth. You're just going to feel like you're lying to yourself. But the more you do this, the more your mind is becoming susceptible to what it is that you're telling yourself. So when you're repeating these affirmations day in and day out, several times a day, you're replacing your thoughts. And as we know, our thoughts are what ultimately creates our reality and what it is that we experience in our 3D. So when you're changing your thoughts, you're quite literally changing your life. And in my experience, I'm going to give you one of my several success stories that I've experienced through robotic affirming. So this was a few months ago, back in April. I was looking for a place because there were some personal things that were going on in my life at the time. And I had to move out by the end of that next month. And I had never had my own place before. I hadn't had a job because I was taking care of, my sick mother at the time. And I didn't have an income and I had pretty bad credit. Like, this is just all honesty. And, two of the things that you usually need up front when it comes down to applying for places is you need a certain credit score and you need proof of income. I didn't have either of those. So I started applying to different places anyway, reaching out. I had the money. I was like, look, I could put X amount down up front, like 6 months to a year down up front. I know I don't have the credit and or the proof of income available, which I know is usually like one of the main prerequisites. And I was like, I got the money, so I should be good. So I'm reaching out to different places and I'm like, damn, I'm not finding nothing. And this was in the my hometown state that I was looking in initially. I was initially looking for places in my hometown state. But I always wanted to move to Florida. And I was like, you know what? There's a lot of drastic changes going on in my life right now. And I was like, I have to be out of this apartment by next month anyway. So I was like, for shits and giggles, let me look at places in Florida. So I started really considering the idea of just packing up and moving over 1,000 miles away from everything I've ever known. So I'm looking at places in Florida and I start reaching out. And I'm getting some answers back. Some people are saying that they're willing to work with me. I was having a little bit more communication with people reaching out down in Florida as opposed to, my hometown state. And I had somebody who said if I could come check out the place that next day. And I'm like, I'm in Connecticut right now, but I could literally catch a flight tomorrow and check out the place. But I was like, I need to know how serious you are about this. So, long story short, I got scammed. Okay. And this is a part of the story too. Please listen because this all ties in together. I got scammed. I never applied to any apartments, houses, anything like that before. This was my first time doing this, so I didn't understand the process fully. But long story short, I got scammed out of $2,000, and I wasn't even mad about the money more so than the fact that I thought I had a place secure. Because when you're looking for an apartment or a house, not knowing whether you're going to have a place to stay is a kind of stressful thought. You know what I'm saying? So I was like pissed because I caught a flight thinking that this was a place that I was going to have secure. I just got to go down there, sign the papers, and do all this other stuff. And after all that happened, I cried. I was fucking mad. And I went back to my hotel room and I looked outside and I was like, I'm going to just go to bed. I got to catch a flight at 4 a.m. the next morning. This was a fucking waste of a trip. And I was like, you know what? Nah. I was like, I want to move here and I'm going to keep looking for places. So literally, instead of going to bed like I was initially going to do, I started reaching out to different places on Facebook Marketplace, broadening my search. And a couple hours later, the woman hit me back up and she's like, and this was like later on in the evening too, mind you. And she was like, I usually don't do this, but I'm going to let you go check out the place by yourself. I'm going to give you a code. You just walk through it and call me back when you're done. So I pull up to the place and it was beautiful. And before anything, let me say this. I did write down in a notebook that I wanted very specific things in a place I was looking for. I said I wanted an attached garage. I wanted it to be 2 stories. I wanted an upstairs and a downstairs. I wanted it to be open concept. I wanted it to be modern. I wanted it to be quiet, have privacy, stuff like that. Like those were things that were super important to me. I walked into this place. It was literally everything that I was looking for. So I'm excited at this point. And I call her back and I'm like, yeah, I love it. What's the next step in the process? She's like, I'm going to send over the application, just fill it out. And, you should hear back from us by the end of next week. And I'm like, okay, cool. And in my heart, I was a little nervous because I'm like, I know that she's getting a lot of hits on this property and I don't have the credit, nor do I have the proof of income. But I do have the money to pay for it. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, damn, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this, but I'm gonna put it through anyway, put my application through anyway, and let God take the wheel on this. So whilst this was all going down and I submitted the application and everything, I started hearing a little bit about robotic affirming and I applied it for this. So what I was saying was, my affirmation for this was, I am approved. I got approved. And literally for that entire, I think it was about 4 or 5 days from the time I saw the property until I heard back from them, I was just repeating day in and day out. I was doing this a little obsessively. You don't have to do it obsessively, but I was like, I am approved. I got approved. I got approved. I got approved. I'm saying this as I'm brushing my teeth, doing my daily tasks before I'm going to bed. I'm like, I am approved. And I was kind of visualizing with it too a little bit. I was visualizing like getting an email or a text or a call saying that, congratulations, you're approved. And I was just doing this until I heard back. And guess what? Sure enough, I got a call, I got a text, and I got an email saying, congratulations, you are approved. And in that moment right there, I broke down and I started crying, but like so happily, because for that to have worked out was a miracle. But I believed, I was like, I know that this is my place. When you have that level of belief and you're just telling yourself something over and over and over again, your mind is going to accept it. A lot of times we stand in our own way because we have doubts that creep in. and we allow the doubts to overpower our desire, and the fact that we desire something, and we just let the doubts talk us out of what it is that we want. But when you can focus your mind solely on what it is that you want, and you just give your mind something to work with, watch how miracles start working in your life. It's going to look like miracles. And it starts happening very, very quickly, because your mind is always going to print out whatever it is that you are putting in. But robotic affirming, I believe, is very powerful. It could work extremely fast. It also depends on your level of resistance, because when you're affirming for something that you really don't believe, it might take a little bit more time, but at the same time, that's a belief as well. You can affirm for that too. But give it a shot. Try it out. I'm telling you, what do you have to lose by just giving this a shot? Don't do it for one day, and if you don't see something pop up in a day, you give up. Give it a little bit of time. Experiment with it and see how you feel, and let me know what happens, because if you look up videos on YouTube about robotic affirming, you're going to come across thousands, and there's a reason for that. But give it a shot. Thank you so much for listening to this video. I appreciate you.